Hello, guys. This is Avcoor, and I want to talk about the positioning of your party and overall team building. So let's go into positioning real quick. Yeah, I'm doing water. I'm trying to climb up in the water, and I'm excited about that. But as far as lineup goes, this game is an idle game. So when we talk about your positioning, it's extremely important. Sometimes you'll actually have to shift your positioning multiple times in order to clear content on auto. So the first thing I'll say is every position has at least one or two strengths, depending on your playstyle. We'll talk about the basic positioning that you start with, which is actually pretty good, even into later content. The point of this positioning is your tank takes most of the damage in the first row. So whatever tank you have takes most of the damage. They also take most of the status effects as well. So with this position, you'll learn quickly that your tank has to be pretty strong in order to stand in this spot and survive. But if you play um, a tank setup where you have a good healer in the back to support, and you have someone like Vaya who can actually heal, it's okay. The strengths of this position is that you have at least three people in the first row. So if you take damage from first to second, you're only getting three people hit. And do you have three columns here? One, two, and three. Well, there's only two people at the most in each column. So this is a pretty standard and basic positioning, which is really good. So if you don't know what to use, this is fine. This is a little bit more complicated of a positioning. There are more weaknesses and strengths in this one. The first strength I will talk about is the fact that the overall DPS is distributed between two units instead of one. Your tank is not taking as much damage, so this is a little bit more aggressive positioning. You actually would prefer to take the tank out and put another DPS here because the way this positioning works is you're going to get hit more often than not because you have four people in the first and second row. So with this positioning, you're playing more aggressive, and your healer can actually be targeted by certain units. But it is a good positioning if you want to be aggressive. The X positioning is still a little more balanced because you only have three people in the first and second row, so the first and second row areas are only getting hit by three units, and there's only two units in each column. So this is actually good. The weaknesses of this is that you're going to have to play more aggressively because the tank is not being the focal point of the basic attack. So your left and right flanks will be hit, but there's fewer weaknesses in this positioning, so you can play a little bit more balanced game. Overall, I think this is the next three are a little weaker positionings because in PvP we have Valkyrie and we have Howling Wind. I want to speak on Valkyrie more because this positioning is pretty dangerous if you're going against Valkyrie because she attacks the column with the most people in it. So if you have more than three people, she's literally stunning three of your units. So this is why this positioning is pretty weak. The strength of it is your tank is actually taking most of the basic attack DPS, and you only have on the left and right column one unit. So if you fight Howling Wind, she'll attack the left or right column, and you're safe there. And your healer is pretty protected in the back. But I said because of Valkyrie is actually a weaker positioning. It may change if Valkyrie falls out of favor. This is actually a stronger positioning than lineup 4 because your first and second row is only has two people in it that are being hit. The weak part about this, Valkyrie exists, and she'll attack the row with the most units in it. So you're losing 3 people right there. And if you go against this guy, this positioning is pretty weak because he's attacking 4 units because he attacks the second and third row. So keep that in mind when you use this positioning. Certain units can take advantage of it. The last position I'll talk about is lineup 6. Lineup 6 is a specialty position that works well against this guy. The strength of this positioning is it is pretty aggressive. You don't want to tank in this positioning if you're going to use it. You actually just want pure DPS. In fact, if you use Sun Wukong, you want him in the middle, and you want to flood the second and first lanes, and you want to push into the opponent because in this positioning it is very vulnerable. Your second and third line, your first and second line will be hit constantly, and to have 3 people in the first line is pretty suicidal. So this is pretty much an all-out attack positioning. Sometimes when you see me use this positioning, I don't use any healers because I'm playing aggressively. Like when I make an all fire team, I don't even use healers. So take it as you will. But it is a good positioning. It's just very, very aggressive. So that's the thing about positioning. If your playstyle demands it, you have to change it. So now that we got through that, how do you construct a team? What do you want on your team? First of all, you have to decide your overall goal. And your first goal is to kill the opponent as fast as possible. So how do you do that? Assassins are the way to go. Assassins are a key component of any team. They are the DPS unit that can kill fast. So let me go into Archive, and I'll show you at least 3 assassins that I prefer to use.
Hidden in the shadows, unleashed during a massacre.
This is one of the best assassins in the game. I think she is incredible because of this. She attacks the enemy with the lowest HP, which is good for any assassin when you have AI manipulation. This is what makes assassins really good. The third assassin that I talk about is the weakest because she does not have this. But this one does. So with this, you're always attacking the unit that has the lowest HP, nearly guaranteeing you to kill. That's what the assassin's job is. They have to have this AI manipulation in order to kill the weakest unit, so you can guarantee to wipe off a unit. Because later on in this game, you're going to realize that it's pretty hard to kill units when the team is set up properly. This is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong is the exception to this rule because he does not attack the character with the lowest HP, but his attacks deal true damage, which ignores defense and shield effects. That's why he's considered an assassin, because he pretty much can assassinate any target on the field. He would like to have someone do AOE damage to weaken a target, so then he can come in and kill that unit. This is the assassin I use.
Let's dance in the storm.
And yours is a serviceable assassin. They call her a mage, but she's an assassin. Yours controls a tempest to inflict 360% attack and damage to the enemy with the lowest HP. That's why I consider her an assassin. Her basic attacks prioritize the enemy with the lowest HP. So even though people consider her a mage, she really is an assassin because she's attacking the enemy with the lowest HP, and that's what you want your assassin to do. This is what I consider to be a weak assassin. First of all, in order to get true damage, her enemy has to be affected by burn. So it's like conditional, which isn't good. She has high like damage output, but she does not target a unit with the lowest HP. And in order to get the true damage effect, she has to it is conditional. Unlike Sun Wukong and another unit that we'll talk about later, it's just harder to produce. She's a great unit, but she's a weak assassin. Next position we'll talk about is healer. Healer is probably the second most important position. Like I'll talk about the best healer in the game. Super
Fortune and
Twins
misfortune are the two sides of the same coin.
are the best healers
Light
in the
and
game.
darkness are independent
And the
and
reason
never
for that
apart.
is this game is an idle game, and your goal is to sustain enough in order to kill the opponent. And this character is a sign of that. First of all, her heal is not a rage skill. She does her rage skill and then moves into a healing set when she switches people. Because first thing it does is increase your healing received, and then you get an HP shield, which is amazing for sustain. And then when she dies, she revives everybody. And then she goes into a state where she just starts attacking. This is an IO game. You're not trying to heal like forever in a day. Heal enough in order for the enemy to be destroyed. And this is why she's the perfect healer for this game. Another good healer that I'll talk about is Lord of Time. Lord of Time is good for a couple of reasons. First of all, she has revive in her kit, and she has buff. So you need a character. A healer's got to do a lot of support effects in order to be viable in this game, and they also have to revive. So I'll go to a healer that's not so good, and that healer is Daughter of the Sea. She is not so good because she has no revive. If you do not have your revive in your kit as a healer, you are no good, and she does not have revive in her kit. She is a great support healer for a sustained team if you want to run that route. But overall, she is not a great healer because she just doesn't have the revive in her kit. So you got your assassin, you got your healer, and if you want, you can have a tank. Depending on the content, you want a tank, and in PvP, you kind of don't want a tank. But if you're gonna use a tank in PvP, it has to be this guy. I think Master Dragon Dawn is the best tank in the game for the simple fact
things cannot affect a heart of dragon arts.
that he doesn't hurt your positioning. You don't have to put him up front in order for him to tank. He can tank from any position, so you can use any position, thus giving him versatility. And he counterattacks every attack that is landed on him. Well, I'm done with Elemental Tower. Um, and he provides buffs, so he increases damage, he gets counterattack, and he can absorb up to 8% of the caster's max HP. Pretty good stuff. He has Intervene, which is the core of his kit. Shares 50% damage received by other heroes. When multiple heroes on attack, Intervene hero with the lowest HP, which is really good. And when he hits, he puts bleed on people. He is an extremely good tank. The second best tank is my favorite tank, Shield of Partha. Shield of Partha is good because she has CC in her
I will
kit.
be with you.
Freeze is such a powerful status effect, and she gets it 100% with her rage skill. And as a tank, she is constantly being hit, so her rage keeps going up. So every like 2 rounds, she can freeze somebody. And the second part allows her with 20% chance to freeze. You can raise that up, which I'm planning to do, so she can freeze constantly. And this isn't that important. When she hits a frozen target, she also recovers 70% damage in HP. It's not as consistent as one would want it to be, but she does receive damage. She does get that, so that's really good. Let me see a tank that is not so good, real quick. Is Iron Fist.
There is no surrendering.
She's good at the beginning, but she falls off super hard. Um, she absorbs 20 HP, which is okay. And she does 320% attack and damage to a single enemy. Because some of these effects you can actually get with runes, so that's the problem with her kit. It's kind of unnecessary. Like Iron Will is kind of unnecessary because runes will give you counterattack, so it's kind of unnecessary. And her stats are low. And her received damage is 5%, whereas Shield of Partha and Dragon Master are 10%. But at the beginning, she is good, and I recommend you use her if you don't want to spend money. She is decent. She is decent. Honorable mention will be this guy. He's the best budget tank in the game.
Die of betrayal.
If you're gonna use a budget tank, it's this guy because he can expel a unit which no other character has that effect. He can just take you out of the game for one turn, which is really powerful. So when you look at him, if you don't have money and you don't plan on spending, he's a good budget option. So the last position is just 2 DPSs. And DPSs can be divided into 2 types. One is AOE and the other is single target. Single target is not as commonplace right now as AOE. I'll go over like a couple of great AOEs. The goal of your AOE unit is to apply damage, spread it out, so that the enemy healer camp will actually not be able to fully heal the whole team. They are not the killers. That's the assassin's job. The assassin's job is to kill. Their job is to like spread the damage.
The elements. They are one with me.
This is the perfect example of what an AOE unit should do. First of all, they need to have stun or some form of status effects in their kit. She has 21 stun, which is really good. And this is what makes her super good. Her basic attacks actually do AOE. She basically does AOE every turn, which makes her incredible. That's why I have her at 10-star as is. So, yeah. Just an amazing unit. Another great AOE attacker is Valkyrie. She's a line AOE attacker.
No chance before me.
The thing about her is you want her to go first. She's pretty slow, but with runes and stuff, she can get really fast. And you want her to go first, so there are no debuffs on the target, so she automatically gets that stun. Once she gets that stun, she slows down the party, and then you kill. Simply put, really good AOE unit. Let's go to Dark. And we'll talk about 2 guys in this arena. Anubis is a great AOE unit.
Souls remain immortal.
Because he has a 26% chance of stun, which you can raise. Really good attack. And he removes a negative status effect on himself. And he applies curse. Curse isn't that great, but still it's a status effect. And over time it will be effective. And he dispels buffs. This is what makes him super good. When he uses his rage skill, he dispels 2 random buffs from the target and he puts on curse. Really good AOE attacker. One of the best AOE attackers in the game is Lilith. Lilith is an amazing debuffer. She's one of the core aspects of an AOE team. She actually applies 4 debuffs, which is amazing. That's why she's so hard to get. It hurts me not to have her, but here we are. She's really great. And she's actually a good buffer. Because when you attack, you recover HP equal to 20% of inflicted damage, which is amazing. This amazing buff. And she has a 20% chance to seduce enemies, which is a 5th debuff. It's just really amazing. Really incredible. Some AoE attackers that I will mention. This guy's a really good AoE attacker because his basic attacks attack the enemy in the mid and back row. He is really good. Not as great as the ones previously mentioned, but he is really good because he actually consistently applies AoE pressure. Another character that I think is really good is Celestial Spear because she constantly applies pressure because she hits the second and first row depending on the setup, and she applies stats effects, which every AOE person should do. And she has deny heal. And after she ends her turn, she attacks again. The best AOE attacker in the game, plain and simple, is this chick because she has weaken and she reduces heal, which is really great. But after she takes her action, she will deal 200% damage to a random enemy and still 20 rage from the enemy, which is so broken. And she has life steal, really broken. That's the power of an AOE heal, an AOE damage dealer. They're supposed to just like keep spreading the damage so your healers can't keep up with it, and then you start picking people apart with your assassin. Single target, I'll only talk about a few units. Um, since there really isn't a true
Wings of darkness, lance of gloom.
there really aren't that great yet because you have to apply a lot of equipment, a lot of stats. They have to have a high crit damage, high crit rate. Um, and this guy is good because she can deal the damage because she deals true damage. She ignores like defense. This is why I'm talking about Hilda, and she's a single target attacker. I don't have her, but I really would like to get her because of this effect that if they're cursed, they have that you inflict 500% of attack and true damage. If the target doesn't have curse, then it inflicts 360% of attack and damage, which is not hard to do because of this kit that she has. And it kind of sucks. She actually puts crit rate and crit damage on herself. It kind of sucks. It just shows you how much of a money game this is, because this is what you want your single target attacker to do: increase their crit rate and crit damage, and be CC immune so that you don't slow down their attack. I really want this character, but oh well. And attacks have life steal effect, and using rage skill you put silence, which is really good. Really good single target attacker. Everything you want a single target attacker to do, she does. So let me look at one more. Hmm. I would have to say her. This is a really good single target attacker.
I'm not a berserker. I really am an assassin.
The problem with her is she needs a lot of setup. Because Perfect Assassination actually does 360% damage. If the enemy is frozen, then applies Shatter, deals 540% attack, has damage to all enemies, and removes frozen effect. This is really good, but she needs a lot of setup in order to make it work. She needs a person that can constantly apply freeze, so she needs more than one person. She needs Shield of Partha and a couple other people to apply freeze so she can get her stuff going. But she really does have a lot of DPS potential. So that's it for single target attackers. The last thing I'll talk about, and I'll end this video, is elemental setup. Elemental setup is important because it it allows you to increase your stats so you can finish off your team construction. So when you look at your bonuses, this is important. And you'll notice that if you put like all 5 elements, you're screwing yourself. Your best bet is to get the 3 and 2. Like, let me show you. Let me see. I'll have to take her out and put a win hero. So you get the 3 and 2, so you get 18 and 13%. So when you take out these and you put in, say, all lights, you actually get 20% attack and 30% HP. But you'll notice that you get more bonuses for light and dark than you will from the core elements. And even if you mix match, you pretty much get the same thing. So in order to get the maximum amount of stats, you want to move into either a pure light team or a pure dark team, and you'll get the most stats because you only get pure core element is 22% HP, attack 16%. But when you move into a pure light, you're getting 30-20. Dark, you're getting 30-20. Which is amazing. Which is amazing stat swing. It really is. So for core elements, if you're gonna mix, I mean, you pretty much want to do the 2-3 because if you do this, it doesn't count. And you get 14-10. So it's 3-2 or it's pure. It's pure if you want to get the most of your stats. It kind of sucks that it works that way. But here, I'm just here to tell you what works and what doesn't work. I'm not here to justify the system because when you build your team, you're gonna realize that you want at least 3 of each element. Like I'm trying to build my squad. Like I have 3 here. I have 3 here. My fire is weak, so I'm going to have to find a strong secondary fire unit. But you at least want 3 of each. So when you build your teams, you actually have the 3-2 or the pure 5 if you're going to use all light or dark. So, anyways, that's how it works. Don't judge me. I kind of don't like it because it basically moves you into the fact that you need a pure light or dark team. Anyways, if you like my content, the like, share, subscribe button. I'll get back to you. Have a great day. Laters.